Appreciate everybody being here. Sunday night's it's not where you want to be. This morning, I met with Coach McElwain and also began conversations for the first time with his agent, Jimmy Sexton, regarding Coach Mack's future here at Florida. The end result of those conversations is that Coach Mack and the UAA have mutually agreed to part ways. Later in the day, I met with Randy Shannon, our defensive coordinator and assistant head coach, asked him to serve as our interim head coach, and he has agreed to do so. I think we're very fortunate to have a guy like Randy on our staff at a time like this. Also met with our team first, and then met with our coaching staff. This is a difficult situation, challenging time for all those individuals and the families that are represented there and the people involved. These kind of transitions are not easy. Our student athletes, as you guys know, are always is our number one priority, and especially during unusual circumstances like this. I appreciate Coach McElwain the way he's handled this. We had constructive conversations. I like Coach Mack. I think he's a good man. I want to thank him for his time and his effort serving as our football coach. I'm confident Coach Shannon and our staff will provide the guidance our program needs these next 4 weeks. We have 4 games left. We're not giving up on this season. And I know our young men are ready to go out and get on the field this coming Saturday at Missouri and represent the Gators. Our search for the next head coach of the University of Florida begins immediately. I will do everything I can to keep the search process and the details of the search process confidential. We all understand that rumors tend to run rampant in these situations, and because of that, a lot of what people read and what you hear will not be accurate. Unfortunately, it's not practical for Steve McLean, our staff, or any of us to respond to every single rumor. So I ask for everyone's patience as we go through the process, and at some point in the future, I'm going to stand up here and introduce the next head coach of the Florida Gators. Until then, I ask you to take whatever you hear with a grain of salt. Okay? So with that, I'll open it up to any questions. Yeah, Robbie. We'll get a mic here.
Scott, when did you know this had to be done?
You're constantly evaluating your program, and I don't know if there was any one seminal moment, but it just seemed like this was the time to do it.
Was the tipping point what he said on Monday and the meeting you had with him after that?
It was, this is more than just wins and losses, and I'll just leave it at that.
Edgar. Go ahead, Pat.
Pat and then Edgar.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Scott, obviously there's a lot of people in the Gator Nation that are wondering about the finances of this, and I know you can't get into specifics because it hasn't been agreed on yet for this part of the buyout. UREO Will Muschamp $1.5 million. I think next payment's due next month. Is this how important is it to, and then have to go get a new coach and possibly a buyout there? I mean, how concerning is that part of this of the finances of it?
Well, you like paying money to people who are currently working for you, right? It's pretty obvious. And kind of what's done is done. What's in the past is in the past. The way to solve these kind of situations is make sure we get the right person in place going forward. And obviously that's going to be our focus from this point on.
Yes, Scott, a couple of things. First off, Jim said last night he was kind of surprised, felt blindsided a little bit yesterday morning when all the rumors started circulating. Are you surprised just kind of how sideways this thing went in the span of a week?
I don't know that I'm surprised because, again, back to Robbie's question, you're constantly evaluating and there are things that happen while you're doing the evaluation that sometimes makes you ask questions. And, I can appreciate where Mac is coming from there, but I don't know that you're ever really completely surprised in these kind of situations.
And how appealing of a job do you think UF is, given 2 firings in 3 years? That's pretty intimidating to maybe the next candidate, and also the fact that Jim kind of portrayed the fan base as irrational a bit, and also has criticized the facilities more than one time.
I think if you want to work in the best athletic department in the country and have access to some of the best talent in the country and have some of the best support in the country and play for and coach for the best fans in the country, you want to be at the University of Florida. We have 21 sports. 17 of them either now or will be in the spring when their seasons start, be nationally ranked. And a lot of those, as you guys know, are not just top 20, they're top 10, they're top 5, they're number 1 in the country. This is a place where you can compete for championships at the highest level. Saw a quote that Tim Tebow made this week. He said, if Florida, you don't go to Florida to compete, you go to Florida to win. I think, I think about I saw Coach Mack's press conference last night. He called it a dream job. I think this is a dream job for somebody.
Up to the right.
You said it's a little more than wins and losses as far as this situation. Does it have anything to do with the off-field issues so far this season?
I'm going to keep the conversations from Coach Mack and I kind of private between us out of respect for the agreement. But there's a lot that went into it.
Scott, 2.5 seasons is a relatively short tenure. Some might say even insufficient sample size. Why did you decide to cut him now rather than perhaps a coordinator and give him some more time?
Well, this was a mutually agreed upon departure, okay? So there's 2 people who had to agree for this separation to occur. It's not ideal. I think, again, we going forward, it's really important we get somebody who can come and build this program to compete at the highest level, to create a championship experience with integrity, someone who can be here a long time and represent the Gators.
Andy, to your left.
Scott, as you go out searching for a coach, how do you evaluate if a guy can handle the kind of pressure that comes with a job like this? Is that something that you can't really know until you hire them, or are there ways to kind of judge that?
Yeah, that's a hard piece of this. I think fans sometimes look at hiring coaches kind of like you or I might look at going down to Best Buy and buying a 50-inch TV. You look on the side of the box and you read all the specs, and when you open up the box, that's what's going to be in there. And personnel hirings are not quite like that. You may think you're getting something. Sometimes you don't know till they get there. But what you can do is you can look for certain traits, and I believe there's certain traits that lead to successful leaders. And so whether it's hard work, whether it's character, whether it's competitiveness, their ability to sell both to fans and to recruits, these are figure-it-out kind of jobs. Every school is different. Every school is unique. Every school has its own set of strengths and challenges, and there's not a one-size-fits-all approach to what's going to be successful at every single school. So you got to get somebody who's smart enough to come in and figure out the puzzle at your particular school. And the great thing about a place like Florida is we wake up every morning here, literally the wind is at our back. You've got a state of 19 million people. You have an unbelievable fan base. We're in the best league in the country, the Southeastern Conference. Unbelievable home field environment here at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium for the Swamp. There are a lot of great things that someone has to work with, and you've got to make sure that you look somebody in the eye when you're sitting across from them and determine, does this person have the toughness to lead a bunch of young men and to be the face of this program? Pat?
Yeah, Scott, when you're talking about getting the new hire, I mean, this is a fan base that's been in the offensive wilderness for 7 years. And is that a factor, or do you just say, I'm going to go get the best guy I can get?
Being in this league for 25 years, when Florida has been really good, from a distance, it has looked really fun. And I want it to be really fun. Our fans, I talk about, they deserve it to be really fun. I want our players, our student athletes, to have a lot of fun and feel like this is a rewarding experience to come here and get a degree from a top 10 public university and to play at one of the storied football programs in the country. That's got to be rewarding and fun. I want it to be fun for our staff. So I don't know, exactly what that means from X's and O's standpoint, but usually good leaders make everybody want to come and be excited to work together, and that ends up being a lot of fun.
Matt over here to the right, and Steve in the back.
Another question on the specs on the side of the box. Does it have? Are you looking for someone who is a current sitting head coach, or you be open to other things?
I want the best person to lead the Florida Gator football program, and so I'm not going to get hung up on titles or where they currently are. I want the best person, regardless of where they are.
Steve.
Scott, 2 questions, and I'm going to ask a question similarly to one that's been asked. This past Monday, did you have any inkling that Coach McElwain would not be your coach today? That's question one. Did you meet with the players? If so, what was their reaction? Were they surprised?
I'll answer your second one first. I did meet with the players. They were quiet, but they made eye contact, and they several of them shook my hand on the way out of the room. Thought it was a good conversation. The thing certainly Monday created some a different storyline and caused a lot of distractions. It's hard to speculate on what would have happened had last week not occurred. It's just it's hard to speculate on that piece.
Brian, up front to the right.
Given that you've been evaluating this for a while, do you have a kind of foundation list of people already that you want to contact and look at? And how many voices and input will you involve in kind of building that list over time?
Well, just like you guys do, I keep up with the marketplace, right? I follow the sport. I love the sport of college football. So I kind of have an idea of what's out there and who might be available and who might be someone of interest. That being said, this search is starting. It'll start tomorrow morning. This process is taking all day today, and so we'll start fresh. But I kind of have an idea, just like anybody would. I'm sorry. Second part of your question.
How many voices or
Resources.
people you involve in this?
Yeah, I'm going to use every resource I can to help us find the best coach, and I'm fortunate to have a lot of contacts and relationships across the country, across this league, people in different parts of this ecosystem of college football, whether it's agents or whatever. I have a lot of friends who have been through search processes recently, who are athletic directors. I have a lot of friends who are coaches, and so I'm going to. I'll reach out to any resource I think that might be helpful. We got a great staff here that I'm going to rely on to assist in the process as well.
And just,
Yeah, follow up.
not to belabor the point, but independent of its role in this decision, what was your just pure reaction Monday when you were kind of blindsided by the death threats thing? Just what was your reaction to it?
I really don't have anything to add other than what our department put out last week. We take the safety of our players very seriously, and I feel like we were protecting them appropriately.
Mark and then Mark.
Going back to what you were saying, you search firm?
I don't anticipate using a search firm, with the caveat that I'm going to use every resource that I think could be helpful in the process.
And then completely side note to everything, but 7 of the 9 players who were suspended were given some pretrial intervention. Any chance they play this season?
There's still a student conduct review that has to take place, and it wouldn't be appropriate for me to comment until that process has run its course.
Mark Slabaugh on the back to the left.
Scott, are you guys of the opinion that you owe Mac nothing because he didn't reveal the death threats?
That kind of goes to the settlement piece, Mark, and we are still kind of letting the ink dry, and we haven't even signed that yet, so I don't want to comment on that until we get to that point.
Are you guys confident that you can reach a settlement?
Yes, we have reached a settlement in principle. We just don't have it signed yet.
Okay.
Thomas up front.
Scott, with all the facilities improvements on the docket, how much does that maybe make this job more attractive to somebody that would step in and have that pretty soon?
To me, those are. I think it can enhance this job, but this is a pretty good job. And you look up out on that wing wall on the southeast corner. It lists 3 pretty recent national championships. This is a place you can have a lot of success. Certainly, the facility enhancements will be a really important part of our future. But I like the opportunity for someone to come in here and start building something in the present.
Pat. And then Edgar.
You talked about the number of voices you're going to, in terms of making the hire. How about the number of voices that were used to make this decision? Was it pretty much solo, or was there a lot of discussion with a lot of?
No, I got a lot of input.
And secondly, when you're talking about,
I'll back up to that real quick, and not that, and this is probably a poor joke, but in this position you get a lot of free advice, and. So I got some input. I actually saw it, but I got a lot of feedback in general. Go ahead.
How much was fan reaction to what had been going on also to play into it? I mean, I know you get 85 million emails.
Yeah.
But I mean,
You know, I take that for
1%?
passion.
Yeah.
I take that for passion. I don't think it really has a part of the decision-making process. I get a lot of emails and all that kind of stuff. Everyone has an opinion, and this isn't a democracy. We're not polling the voters, but at the end of the day, I've got to lay my head in the pillow and make not what's the best decision for me or the best decision for my staff necessarily. I need to make the best decision for the Florida Gators and our student athletes. And I appreciate that there are people with opinions out there, and I think that's one of the really special things about being in a place like Florida is that our fans are so passionate. But at the end of the day, it's about what I believe is right.
Nick, over here to the right.
I don't think you've been through this position as an athletic director, but you've been through coaching searches. How do you anticipate? It's probably something that will define your legacy early on here. How big of a decision is that, and do you have people close to you that you'll look to specifically?
Well, it's a big decision because it's an important position at the University of Florida. I don't worry about my own career from this decision-making process. I gotta go hire the best person for Florida because Florida needs a really good football coach. So I have been through football coaching searches. I wasn't sitting in the AD chair when I was part of those processes, but I've sat in the room and interviewed football coaches, and I have hired basketball coaches and several other sports as athletic director. And at the end of the day, regardless of the sport, it's about finding a leader for a group of young people who can represent your university the right way and has the ability to organize and develop and all the factors that are really important. So regardless of the sport, the process is the same. You're wanting to end up with the right person, someone gets you excited to come in the door and work with them every day and support them. And I'm excited for that opportunity to go do that.
Mark and then Gary. Yanni, get Mark.
Did you forget Edgar?
Yep, I will get Mark.
You're getting a pretty much a head start than everybody else in the country. Is there any advantage to maybe starting now as far as from trying to find a head coach?
Potentially. We've got to, at the same time, you've got to, obviously a lot of the people that you want to talk to, we're not going to talk to anybody while their season's going on. And we're going to be respectful of what they have occurring. And so we can do our homework. We can, do a lot of research. So from that standpoint, it's helpful. I can probably pick up a phone and call somebody that I trust and ask them some questions. And they won't wonder why I'm asking the questions.
Right.
But, so from that standpoint, it's a benefit. But from the standpoint of the people you would talk to probably still playing games, I don't know that it's has a big impact.
And then at the very top, you said, I like Jim. He's a good guy. Was he a bad employee?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that at all. I got along. I have nothing negative to say about Coach Mack.
Edgar.
So regular season, not entire season, including bowls and stuff, playoffs potentially, that you won't.
I'm sorry. What did you say again?
Well, you said you're not going to interfere with season. Be respectful. I understand that, but regular season, not all the way through bowl games.
Yeah,
and
regular
playoffs.
season. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think in this industry, that's
Yeah, I
accepted
figured.
norm.
Exactly.
And right.
Was the UF administration and how much involved were they in this decision?
I communicated with Dr. Fox about the process. He's incredibly supportive of athletics. He's been incredibly supportive of me. I feel really blessed to be able to work for a guy like Kent Fox.
So what's an ideal timeline for you? I mean,
As long as it takes to find the right coach,
okay,
Edgar.
so this could go on into January if it's a team in the playoffs or something like that.
That I want to make sure we find the right coach. This is a long-term decision, right? And so putting our official deadline in there. What's unique this year is that we have the early signing day period. And in a perfect world, you would have someone in place in time to positively affect the ability to sign players for the early signing period. However, we're going to make the best long-term decision for the University of Florida.
Gary.
Scott, I was just about to ask you that. Within the bounds of NCAA rules as far as contact, is there anything to be done with Randy or the members of the current staff with the current prospects and kind of reassuring them that eventually when you make this hire, there's going to be some stability here, and their initial verbal decision to come to the University of Florida will remain a good one as far as you're concerned.
Absolutely, yes. And it'll be incumbent upon our coaching staff, our recruiting staff, to make sure and deliver that message. And then where it's appropriate, myself, I will have those conversations with young people to ask them that, number one, tell them University of Florida is a wonderful place, and ask them to give whoever we hire as new coach a chance to visit with them before they make a decision.
Ryan, over here to the right.
Do you know if Coach Mack got to talk to his players today?
He did not, but that opportunity is still available.
And then just in your history, what's been your involvement in past football coaching searches in any role, and how do they differ from your general college coaching searches?
I've been at schools where it happened 4 or 5 times. Most recently was Mississippi State, and Greg Byrne was our AD, and I sat in on every interview that we had. It's a lot easier from a profile standpoint and being under the radar to interview maybe an Olympic sport coach or a coach that doesn't have the high profile nature that coaching football does. That's probably the biggest difference between football and any other search process is just the attention that it gets, and how hard it is to be discreet, and the way the narrative gets out of control. For instance, it's perfectly legitimate to reach out to somebody and have a conversation regarding gauging their interest about your position. But often what happens is if somebody decides they're not interested, word gets out, this person turned them down, when that's not what happened at all. But that's often how the narrative gets out of control, because we're not going to come out and publicly comment on everything that's going on in the search process. That's an unfortunate part of how these things happen and occur. And I don't know how you stop that other than just trying to find people you really trust to have candid conversations with.
Go ahead, Nick.
Can that be detrimental to a search when rumors get out and you're trying to do things behind the scenes and quietly? Can that be detrimental to?
Absolutely. In that situation I just pointed out, if you're just reaching out to gauge interest and someone let it out, made it appear that they had turned you down, then you may have someone else you really did like, who may have been really at the top of your list to begin with, but you were doing your due diligence, feel like suddenly they're not the number one choice. So yeah, it can absolutely. That's obviously just a hypothetical, but we all see that happen every year, play out in coaching searches. Agents will, get information that's helpful to their candidate out there through the media, and some of you may have actually assisted with that at times. So it can be a challenging process.
Mark, over to the left.
I'm not looking at anybody in particular.
But Mark,
Scott,
But go
is
ahead,
there
Mark. Since you have the mic.
Go ahead, Dave. Speaking of which, is there going to be a market correction on these massive buyouts at any point, do you think?
I think I would love to see that. I had an agent tell me recently that I was captain no guarantee money, and I think he meant it as a disparaging comment. I took it as a compliment. I think it's a tough job, and you do want to be fair. And the salaries make it where it's a really rewarding financial situation. But at the same time, there's got to be a protection for the university. And, I think there's a lot of leverage that successful coaches have, and that ends up setting the market. And then others who may not be quite as successful use that where the market is to their benefit.
Andy.
Are the expectations too high here?
I don't think so. I mean, if your expectation is, can we compete with the very best teams in the country, stay on the same field, and have a legitimate chance to beat the best teams in the country, we do that in every other sport at the University of Florida. I don't know why this football program, which has done it before, I mentioned the 3 national championships in the last 21 years, I don't think that's unfair. Is it unfair to assume a program's going to win every single game? I don't think that happens anywhere, right? Are people going to get upset when a really successful program does stub its toe and lose a game? Yes. It goes back to the passion of having great fans. I've worked in some situations at schools where it was a struggle I worked at at a school that wasn't in Power 5, and it was a struggle to draw 15,000 people to a game, and there weren't very many people to get upset when we lost a game. I would much rather have a situation where you have 90,000 people filling your stadium, and they're more than a little disappointed when they go home on the losing end of a game. That's just the nature of fandom. I don't think the expectations at the University of Florida to create a championship experience with integrity is unrealistic.
Okay, final couple questions, Brian. One more at that.
Is there a personality profile that you have in mind for the guy you want?
You know, beyond just somebody that I, that's you want to work with, that's a good guy, that you want representing your program. I don't have anything beyond that. I think anytime you're starting a relationship, you look for something that's a quote unquote fit, and whether that's personality wise or a belief structure from the standpoint of what's important to them and where their priorities are professionally. I think all that plays into it. Beyond that, I don't know if there's anything that is a profile there from a personality standpoint.
And then given that the last 2 hires here were made with the best of intentions and didn't pan out, what's the stress level that you carry through this process, and just how is it going to weigh on you and just your psyche through all this?
The past doesn't really impact the stress level. I want to do a good job, and I want us to have a really good football program, and I want to do everything I can to bring the right leader in here that Gator Nation can get behind.
Wrap it up with Mark Logan or what?
There's been a lot of rumors, maybe speculation about your relationship with Dan Mullen. Can you just tell us where that was when you guys, when you left there?
Well, I want to be really careful because I'm going to be, again, respectful of their situation. They've got a good season going. Dan, I will just say Dan, and I enjoyed working with Dan, and I think he would probably say the same. Dan is can be direct, and I can be direct, and sometimes we had direct conversations like you would anybody that you work with closely. He's done a really nice job there, and as an alum of that school, I'm proud of the job he's done at my alma mater.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.